Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Laguna Seca and welcome to round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 with our title sponsor, EG Evolved, coming in and having a bit of fun. Round 2 at Laguna Seca is going to be an interesting one, much like for you that are aiming to get a sim rig. We've got a big special coming on with EG Evolved, at 10% off the EGR sim. So do get hold of those and utilize the discount code of SPRING10. But that being said, enough with all that. Let's move on to qualifying as our drivers are out on the circuit, putting in those absolute bangers of laps. Out on track as we do see Mordred Clausen trying to pick up the pace, in sporting a new livery this time round for the Pandassi. Instead of the pink, it's gone blue, and the Pandassi team making their way through. Bukes currently leads out the top of the pack with a 1:21.7, so he's trying to get that a little bit further up the road, trying to figure out a good lap time. So far, has been the fastest in Sector 2, but personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 3. He's getting chased down by Henry Mayer in second place. Fleming Bauer holds third as a stand. A returning Jason Abschmeyer to the field, which is absolutely phenomenal to see. Jason Abschmeyer, a former champion right here in RaceFace.Pro, and is now looking to try and put yet another title behind his name. He's going to have a lot of hard work, however. He's got Jason Farmer looking to fight his way through, and it is going to be a bit more of an interesting time for him to step on the gas. A little bit different to racing a GT3 last night in LMU around Sebring. But that being said, Christoph Peterson, our German, putting himself right up into third place. Now let's quickly talk about the points as it is round 2. Henry Mayer leads out on 52 points. Christoph Peterson lies in second place. Ernest Limburgs down in third. Fleming Bauer sits in fourth with Daniel de Villiers in fifth place. Bagel Krobler in sixth. Ruan Heineke, Jason Farmer, Ruan van der Walt, Henry Platt rounds out the top 10 for our pros. And now for our Pro-Am standings. It is going to be Jared Bakum sitting in first place with Rian van der Reist in second. Conrad Martin holds third place. Sean Lorero chases him down in fourth with Reginald Mutileni, Jackie Alberts, Keegan Bowen, along with Gerard Pretorius in eighth. Anton Lommers in ninth, and 10th place is Chris Biermester. So many drivers out there looking to put their way to the top, but only so few can hold that first place spot. 35 cars will be racing here tonight, so looking to have a bit of fun. Right further down, Stephen Milano James comes out from the UK, races in ERA. Keep an eye on him, he's an incredibly quick chap. Dennis Buerta is running out on the circuit as well, trying to put a time on the board. Keegan Bowen a little bit further down where he doesn't want to be. He wants to be a little bit further up in the Pro-Am field, but no one has usurped the likes of Kerry Bukes at the moment with that 1:21.6. Henry Mayer's tried his luck, trying a different livery, and you can see the little bit of an owl on the side as well. So good to see him out there. But also, big shout out to everyone out in the virtual grandstands. We got Oren Bidler, along with Productive Panda, and Antonio Gamble returning for another time at the beautiful circuit. Well, absolutely great stuff to have you out in the virtual grandstand. A big welcome to everyone from around the world. And as I said, it's going to be a wild one. Now, Kerry van Zale up into 8th place. This has been a good run for him, and so far been improving his times little by little by little. He's trying to move his way up through the order, and it's good to see a bit of progress coming in. Darren Miller chasing him down and sporting the Red Bull PWSR livery, a new livery that's been brought into the fray, and I gotta say, looks rather interesting. Alan Patterson, usually the madman behind the liveries, putting that all together. Good to see him having a bit of fun in it. Mordred Clausen lies in 10th. Ruan van der Walt sits in 11th place, along with Chris Collison, looking to move his way through. Good to see Chris Collison coming out from the Stingers and hoping to really make it sting here at Laguna Seca. Now, tough circuit to deal with, and drivers are going to have to keep that well in mind as they put the hammer down. Jeff LaRue and Neil Swartz also trying to figure out the gap a little bit towards himself. At the moment, LaRue up 0.3 of a second now. Jeff LaRue going to be taking some positivity into this one. Last night wasn't able to finish LMU due to a turn 2 incident that took out most of the GT3 field in LMU. But that being said, take a look at the Honda NSX. At the moment, 0.1 quicker than the entirety of the field, and is really standing on the gas. Christoph Peterson looking to take a title here in RaceFace.Pro. He is a 7-time champion in Evolution Racing Academy out in the Diamond Division. He's now taking the fight to former champion, or defending champion, Henry Mayer, who's currently lying in second place. But Gerrit Buick still holds out that first place and is doing everything he can to make it work. However, it does look like Christoph Peterson is going to put the hammer down and see if he can really get straight to the top of the order. Gerry van Sale down in 4th place. We'll try to wait for his time. Fleming Bauer as well trying to put the hammer down. But this is Christoph Peterson. He's going to come across the line. It's a good lap time. It's a great one. He comes across the line. The Honda NSX puts himself into 1st place by 0.04. He's going to have to work a little bit harder there if he wants to feel safe. At the moment, it is Chris Collison, 0.3 up on his lap time in the Mustang. Trying to make it work this time round. Pull the Stingers flat on the gas and boots it all the way through down the main straight, heading towards turn 1 into the top 10. And he's into 11, missing out that top 10. Oh, so close right at the end. Tienes Buerta also up on his lap time. And Gerard Pretorius a little bit further down, up on his lap time. Keegan Bowen up on his, along with Henny Pojita down in 32nd position. 0.3 faster than his personal best. So he's really trying to make it work. Nicholas Manuel joining in to race as well. Bit late to the party, but good to see him out there. Jonathan Chrysler hoping to also take the Lamborghini to the top. But take a look. 121 from 1st all the way to 6th place is 121s. And from 7th all the way down till Ulrich de Jager in 27th position are all sitting in the 122. We're working in split seconds here, folks, to go and line up a great race indeed. 35 cars that are going to be going around and being at the top of the order. This is where it gets rather interesting. Laguna Seca, very tight circuit to make it work, and drivers are going to have to think a little bit longer of how they want to push a little bit more, as it is crucial for qualifying positions. 3 minutes and 17 seconds to go. Mordred Claessen's was up on his time, unfortunately falling down the order. Henry Mayer putting an absolute banger out of the corkscrew. 0.2 up on everyone. Can he get into 1st place to usurp Christoph Peterson? Oh, putting a wheel out wide. That's going to cost him a bit of time into the final corner. Is it going to work out? Will he usurp the likes of Christoph Peterson? As he comes across the line, Henry Mayer for the Pandacity team does get ahead and will lock out 1st place. Christoph Peterson out there in the Logistical Nightmare Racing and also Fear the Bones team now lying in 2nd place. Gerrit Bucas sits in 3rd place, and we'll have to wait that little bit longer as we've only got 2 minutes and 29 seconds. So if you're not putting in a great lap time, it's possibly a good idea to pull into the pits or rather get yourselves ready for the race. Beggar Krobler up 0.4 on his personal best, trying to get into the top 15. Comes across the line. Is it going to be enough for it? He gets into 14th. Good run on his part. Stephen Milana James now trying to have his fight on the way through. He's hoping to move up into that top 15 as well. Henry Mayer trying to improve on his last lap time. Unfortunately, gets it invalidated. Fleming Bauer also trying to figure out how he can get a little bit more pace underneath him to stay at the top. He's lying in 5th place as it stands, but Jason Farmer is hunting for that 5th place. Stephen Milana James up towards the corkscrew he goes. Hard on the brakes, down into 2nd gear, travel down the hill. It is 6 stories high in person, and now you have to just keep yourself in check on the way through into the last 2 corners. Down to 3rd, down to 2nd. Oh, just clipped the curb, and that's unfortunately put to bed his increase. Beggar Krobler also trying to put the hammer down, and is it going to be enough for the Team Wolf colors? Beggar Krobler going to try a Ferrari 296 this season. A big change from what we have seen from Beggar Krobler. Preferred the Aston Martins and front engine monsters. This time, however, it's gone for a rear engine Ferrari 296 isn't going to work out in his favor. Unfortunately, a little bit too slow and will have to be comfortable with that 14th position as it stands now. Darren Miller trying to put down the pace. Thriller Miller really trying to move forward with that PWSR Lamborghini. 0.1 up on his personal best, utilizing the slipstream from the Pandacity machine just ahead of him. And will come across the line. Will it be enough to get him into the top 10? As he does. Darren Miller into the top 10. He pushes his own teammate down, who's out there in the Pennzoil colors. Daniel De Villiers now sits in 11th position and trying to pick up the pace, as we do see a Lamborghini getting a little bit out of shape, coming down the hill. Not quite the way you want to approach or get down the corkscrew, but sometimes mid-engines they tend to throw out. This in GTR, however, is looking good. Henry Mayer puts in the fastest lap time, a 1:21.2 as he comes across the line. Daniel De Villiers is going to try his best to make it work out in his favor. And across the line, he will hold 11th position. So not many drivers left to go and cross the line. We do have Herman Whipner, a new driver to the Pro-Am class, and good to see him out there. A new driver to the Pandacity stable. And he'll have to keep an eye out on his position. Good run for Conrad Martin. 0.6 as he comes out of the corkscrew. Really putting the hammer down. And Conrad Martin, avid cyclist, is now going and showing off what exactly he can do. Burying that foot into the floor and trying to carry a lot of momentum. He's in 29th position. He wants to make this work out in his favor and move up into that top 15. Is it going to be enough, however, as he's getting chased down by Herman Whipner? And Conrad comes across the line. He moves up into 14th. That's worked out in his favor. Is it going to be enough, however, for the likes of Herman Whipner, who's trying everything he can to move through the order? 0.1 up on his lap time. Is it going to be a good one? Will he move up into that top 15? Unfortunately, lost time out of the final corner, and unfortunately, will have to be comfortable in his wake. So tough times out there for our drivers. We'll have to see what they can do coming up next. It's great to have our title sponsor, EG Evolved, coming in and having a bit of fun with us this season. A massive shout out to EG Evolved. Remember, you can get 10% off the aluminum rigs from EG Evolved by utilizing the discount code of SPRING10. Now, that is incredible if you're new or if you're a veteran in the sport. It's always handy to have something rather new from EG Evolved. And with the recent announcements coming through from Gamescom and the likes of Monza bringing out the R21, which will be available at EG Evolved, you definitely want to get yourself a solid base to work out with. That being said, as our drivers get ready for their formation lap to get a little bit of heat into the tires, drivers will be worrying about what's the big plan here, how far are they willing to go, and where are they going to make up the time. It is Henry Mayer and Christoph Peterson that are going to be starting in the first row. That's going to be an interesting one because Christoph Peterson currently leads out the champion. Oh, it's Henry Mayer that leads out the championship and Christoph Peterson in second place. So the two of them are in perfect point to try and move their way up through the order and see if they can stand at the top of the charts. This is going to be an interesting drive as Laguna Seca is unforgiving. It's one of these circuits that's friendly to go and learn how to drive, but at the same time, it is difficult to master. Pushing the limits a little too far may end in going into the wall or, worse, landing up down the field as the race continues. Now, this is always a tricky one, including the pit lane as well. We've seen that been a bit of an issue for some drivers in past seasons. That being said, as our drivers make their way through, it's time to take a look at the EG Evolved RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Grid. A massive, massive shout out to EG Evolved, our title sponsor. Henry Mayer out in first place with Christoph Peterson in second place. Kerry Bukes sits in third place. Kerry van Zale lies in fourth place. Jason Abschmeyer returns in fifth with Fleming Bauer chasing him down in sixth place. Jason Farmer, Mordre Claessens, Ruan van der Walt, and Darren Miller round out the final 10. Daniel De Villiers starts out in 11th position with Chris Collison, Ruan van der Reest, in 13th. Conrad Martin in 14th. Bego Krobler lies in 15th place with Ruin Heineke in 16th. Chris Biermeister in 17th place with Herman Wipner in 18th. Jean-Ray Dutoy and Jeffrey Leroux round out that 20th spot. Neil Swartz out in 21st with Gerald Pretorius. Stephen Milano James is in 23rd. Tienes Buerta and Lucan Haynes lies in 25th. Sean Loureiro followed by Benjamin Till, Henny Porchita, Jackie Albert, and Ulrich de Jager is in that 30th spot. Keegan Bowen sits in 31st with Reginald Mutileni, Anton Lummers, Jonathan Chryslet, and Nicholas Manuel round out the pack that are going to be revving it and giving it everything they got. It's going to be a wild one. And for those that have just joined us, you have no idea how this works, let me explain the rules to you. It's 1 hour and 20 minutes worth of racing, and you have to do 2 mandatory pit stops. That means you stop in the box, you put a litre in the car, and back out on track. Drivers opt to put in a little bit more than a litre and also swap tyres. We have 2 different classes. Everything that is in white, that is our Pro class. Anything in red is our Pro-Am. And Conrad Martin leads out our Pro-Am field for the very first time, which is absolutely amazing to see. And Whipner make his debut season here at RaceFace.Pro. Is looking to have a lot of fun in second place. Raymond van der Race holds third. But now, all eyes to the front as it's about to get wild as we go to Tim in the helicam. Tim working on our cameras. Jim is our marshal who will be guiding them out, calling final lap and calling race start into the final corner. 70 kilometers an hour. You back it down. You get your gearing right. You wait for the way to go. Lights on. Lights on. Lights on. It is just suspense, and it looks like Henry Mayer just slightly ahead as they will be going green soon as they get above the crest. And there we go. Into the race we go for round 2. And Henry Mayer starting to open up a gap early on. Christoph Peterson got to feel the pressure as it is a late braking zone for many of the drivers. Jason Absmeyer trying to move his way through the order. All looking reasonably clean on the way through. And, oh, we do have a little bit of contact at the back. Try and take a look. Jeffrey Leroux had a little bit of a rub. And it's Neil Swartz that landed up getting turned round in the mess that has gone on. We did see a slight kick up from cars getting caught out. And let's see if we can quickly go back. This was under braking. Anton Lummers trying to keep it all together. Slow into turn 1. And where do we see? Oh, there's the contact just ahead. And unfortunately, it was just a Constantino effect. And that is one of the racing snails that got the contact. Reginald Mutileni giving a little bit of a heave-ho as well as they continue on the drive. So, back up to the sharp end of the field. Henry Mayer and Christoph Peterson hold first and second. Kerry Bukes holds into third. We're getting reports, however, Darren Miller down the order, the number 11, not in a good wicket. And now trying to pick himself up. So what on earth happened to the 11 car of Darren Miller? Did it get a little bit thrilling? And it was up towards the corkscrew as he puts on the power. Ruin Heineke dives into the pits. A number of drivers actually getting into the pit lane. A monster dive from the Pandacity machine comes across, T-bones Miller, which then just creates further issues. Bego Krobler gets thrown around as well. He tries to pick himself up off the floor and will carry on the race. So some drivers having a little bit of a difficult time on the early start. Jonathan Chrysler being one of those, fighting out with Lucan Haynes just a bit of it ahead of him. And Bego Krobler trying to make up some time after that spin. Lost a lot of grip to those rear tires and now battling to hold it. As we do see Lucan Haynes going and fighting out with Bego Krobler, who makes short work of the two of them. But we do get reports, however, Benjamin Till out into the dirt and trying to rejoin the circuit. So he is really not having a easy time out there. So quite a few drivers, unfortunately, running into a problem. Jason Abschmeyer coming back into the fray. Mordrake Claessen's chasing him down. And interesting to see, Jason Abschmeyer is no slouch behind the wheel. Formerly the champion of White Rabbit Gaming. And now looking to fight it out against Mordrake Claessen. Looking to go up and underneath him. Gonna go around the outside. Hard work. Fleming Bauer also trying to put his nose in to his own teammate. This is going to be a bit of a wild one. Fleming Bauer not giving much room for Mordrake Claessens to get an advantage. And the two Pandacity machines are battling it out left and right of Jason Absmeyer as they try and keep it all together. Bauer gets ahead of Mordrake Claessens late on the brakes. Mordrake yet again getting as close as he can, and that's brought Daniel de Villiers in that Nissan GTR into the fray. So good to see a couple of drivers still putting it together. A couple have visited pit lane already after the start of the race with some damage to the car. Unplanned pit stops is going to change things up. Conrad Martin in 14th position has got Chris Beermister and Jeffrey LaRue trying to keep the pressure on the back of him, trying to figure out where exactly can he get the pass done. Chris trying to look for the outside, goes for the inside, couldn't quite make it work, and it's still Conrad Martin keeping the leg up on the situation to move forward. So good to see drivers still out there. Unfortunately, one retirement out of the race. 35 cars started, 34 remain who continue on the drive. Conrad Martin on the attack of Jean-Ray Dutoy. Our Lamborghini hasn't had the easy time out there. Jean-Ray Dutoy being rather careful and unfortunately swallowed up by the McLaren. Quick work on the way through and a great pass. Chris Beermister also feeling the pressure as LaRue tried getting past, and Jeffrey LaRue seeing Darren Miller getting up on the inside, gets the pass done. And that's Jean-Ray Dutoy into pit lane to get a bit of work done on his car. LaRue down the order as Thriller Miller has really stepped on the gas and now looking to break away. Further up the road, Mordrake Claessens dealing with Daniel de Villiers, putting pressure on the back of him, trying to figure out where can he get the pass done and dusted. It's still open cards for every single one of these drivers, as we do have little silos of battles happening out there. Henny Porchita dealing with Bego Krobler as the Team Wolf driver, trying to recover after a terrible run through the corkscrew. Unfortunately, that knock took a lot out of him, and now he's chasing down the Racing Snails. Henny Porchita, who's not afraid to put the hammer down. A little bit behind them, however, is Keegan Bowen and Tienes Buerta, who are keeping the pressure on one another. Tienes Buerta needs to also be well aware the likes of Luke and Ann starting to close up some time. This is the one thing about the circuit. You got to keep the momentum. You got to keep your rhythm here. The moment you lose it, this moment you got a bit of a problem. Great block for Henny Porchita. Moved over to the right-hand side. Closed off Bego Krobler's approach down into the corkscrew, forcing that he has to go on the brakes, and now you dictate the pace. Bego Krobler, however, is going to go for a late lunge up on the inside and over the curbs. Oh, understeer, and that was a little bit of side-by-side contact. Henny Porchita rejoins down the order. Not quite the way he wants to do it. Keegan Bowen tried to go for the pass on the likes of Bego Krobler, and unfortunately, once again, Henny Porchita getting turned round. Not his day going into the final corner. Let's quickly go and take a look what happened. This was initial contact coming into the right-hander, as it was a dive from Bego Krobler, went up on the inside, hooked the curb, bounced into the side. And unfortunately, Henny now trying to keep it all together. Late on the anchors into his own teammate, and there's the side-on contact with Tienes Buerta. Reginald Mutileni gets on by, and only just could have ended a lot worse than that. But great recovery, and oh no, yet again, running into problems. The 27 not having, well, the 676 having a bit of a problem there. And that was just a little bit further on. So this is out of turn one. Is there a bit of damage on the car that we can't see? Over the curb, keeps it tight into turn two. And now, oh, just got on the power, and that's all she wrote. Into the wall, unfortunately, taking a big impact there. Not ideal circumstances, however. And we do have further reports that Luke Nance is also getting a yellow flag. And there is the damage on his car. The number 3 having a bit of a rough time. Quick look on the replay to see how it's all going on. But the race is unfolding in a very difficult manner for some. BMW M4 GT3, oh, over the curb, and there she goes. Goodbye, nice to see you. Get a bit of grip on the left-hand side. Oh, bang, into the wall. Not quite how you want to get across the line, and unfortunately, it will need a vast amount of repairs onto that car. You can see barely able to steer it into pit lane. Henry Mayer leads out the pack with Christoph Peterson in second place. Gerrit Bukes currently holds third place. It is down to 11th position, but first in the Pro-Am. It's Rian van der Race of the Griffin Sim Racing, the Krabendulis team. Rian van der Race trying everything he can. The Crumandulis Racing is getting chased down by Herman Whipner of the Pandacity, who, well, welcome to RaceFace.Pro. That's Commentator's Curse, and Conrad Martin makes quick work of him. And Chris Biermeister might be the next one to go through. Yep, it is. And Chris Biermeister getting through. Once again, sorry, Urban. Commentator's Curse, it's a real thing. You got to experience it. Tennis Berta getting past Reginald Mutileni as he tries to keep himself in check. So lots and lots of breakout battles happening out on circuit. Ulrich de Jager going and racing against Joe Pretorius, chasing him down in 30th position. The driver's just trying to focus on the attack a little bit further up the road and looking at some of the cars that have gone through pit lane. Ulrich de Jager starting off with Jason Farmer first into the pits and now trying to make his way back up through the order. Ruan Heineke, likes of Jean-Ray de Toy, Stephen Milano James, likes of Neil Swartz, Ulrich de Jager, Gerald Pretorius, Sean Larrera, Jackie Alberts, Henny Porchita, and Luca Nades rounds out our drivers that have gone into pit lane. As we do see the pass of Gerald Pretorius on Ulrich de Jager under braking. Getting further reports though. Oh, big problems coming in for Mordre Klaassen. Lost the rear end of the Porsche. Now trying to bring it back down 2 positions. Lost out to De Villiers and Ruan van der Walt, who starts to open up that distance a little bit more now. Mordre Klaassen's not having the easy time out there. Conrad Martin trying to open up the gap against Chris Biermeister and the likes of Herman Whipner. Both are teammates and will be constantly talking to one another to try and work out how they can get a little bit closer to Conrad Martin. But while Herman's having a tough time there, we do see Jeff LaRue starting to bring himself back into the attack. So this is going to be an open cards for them, as we do see Beggar Krobler and Darren Miller trying to fight their way up and down through the order. Beggar up into 16, Miller down into 17th. A little bit further down, Reginald Mutileni fights out with Tennis Berta as the two of them brawl left and right. Tennis Berta racing in the pro class, so it is for on-track position, but not for class positions. We've got to remind, we've got Pro and Pro-Am racing with us here tonight in one grid. And the drivers are going to have to really work out what they can do to make it work out in their favor. Fleming Bauer keeping the pressure on Jason Abschmeyer at the moment. Abschmeyer not having an easy run on his return back to Raceface. Good to see them returning. Been a long time since we've seen him out here on the track. It's good to see him coming in, having a bit of fun. I think there's a couple of old names that need a return from the White Rabbit Gaming side many years ago to come and enjoy the action. Conrad Martin and Chris Biermeister trying to keep each other busy, and Herman just keeping in the toe, making sure that nothing can happen. Beggar Krobler off of the circuit, and that's allowed Darren Miller to get on by and open up the gap quite swiftly between the two of them. Miller trying to make up some time after a little bit of a rough start for him, same as Beggar Krobler needing to also open up that gap. Reginald Mutileni takes a very tight line, and Tennis Berta trying to fight it back. Both in the McLarens, 2 different ways they're trying to put the hammer down here and seeing who's going to be able to make their way through. But we're getting reports, and that is contact between Chris Biermeister and Conrad Martin. That is a change up at front for our Pro-Am. And what on earth happened to the 163 and the 74? Let's quickly take a look at it. This is where it all started going wrong for Conrad Martin, as we do see Chris Biermeister making up a little bit of time. Closes up and I think decided there's a little bit too much space and just clipped the rear. Unfortunately, Conrad Martin, bit of a pirouette and waited for the field to come on by, but that has thrown him out of the running for first place at the moment. We do, however, see that round for the race leads out our Pro-Am with Herman Whipner, who made the advantage work out in his favor. Chris taking the lunge onto Conrad Martin has only played into his favor. Conrad Martin down into 3rd place in his class, but Darren Miller trying to close up that gap, and Beggar Krobler joining him by as well. 2 pro class drivers are now looking to get past the Pro-Am. The question is Conrad Martin going to make it easy, or is he going to fight it out? Well, that being said, we have got a problem. Chris Biermeister of the 74 up into the weeds yet again. What on earth happened to him? This is chasing down one of the McLarens, trying to take a look at who that might be. as they went straight on, and oh, beautiful turn, but now you're into a blind. Chris Biermeister had to wait for the entirety of the field before he was able to get going. So beautiful spin, gotta say. Couldn't get any better if you tried. Reginald Muttolini and Tennis Berta side by side. Tennis trying to go around the outside, try to go for the undercut. Unfortunately, Reginald Muttolini stopped on that spot, making sure it's not going to happen. Bagel Krobler and Darren Miller still brawling between one another, and they've got Conrad Martin to deal with up ahead as well. As we do see Reginald Muttolini getting overtaken under braking. Tennis Berta starting to open up the gap. The fight for 18th and 19th absolutely going mad between them. Reginald, who is fighting tooth and nail at this point for an on-track overall position, needs to be well enough aware that Anton Lummers keeps the pressure on. Two former teammates are now close to one another, and Anton Lummers is not going to make it any easier. Darren Miller and Bago Krobler continue on the charge, both now trying to catch up to the likes of Conrad Martin, but in the process is actually making themselves slow down a little bit on their run. Jackie Alberts into the weeds, and that Mustang not looking so hot. So Jackie Alberts really jumps out of the way to allow likes of Bago Krobler and Darren Miller to come on by. And that is a really rough way to do it, as we do see Stephen Milano James taking on Benjamin Till, and both going and having a bit of fun. Benjamin Till locks the inside. He missed it out over, but Stephen Milano James comes fighting back in that Ferrari 296. He lies in 26th position. Benjamin Till in the Pro-Am division, but really showing what he can do here to move up through the order. And we'll look towards the inside line, heading into turn 2. Not going to work out too great. Side by side, can he get it to drive? Oh, Benjamin Till getting clipped not once but twice and got turned round. He's going to lose out of position to Neil Swartz and Chris Biermeister, and take a look at the field getting on by as he rejoins. Not quite the way he wanted it to happen. Stephen Milano James, unfortunately, just clipping that left rear, get him up in the air. And unfortunately, Lamborghini not having an easy time out there to try and bring it back to planet Earth. So drivers are still fighting up and down through the order for our 1 hour, 20-minute race. We have gone through quite a bit. We've gone through about 15 minutes worth of racing, and there's still so much to go. The question is, who is going to push themselves out a little bit more? Because we're starting to see more unscheduled pit stops coming in. Bago Krobler being one of those drivers that's coming in for an unscheduled pit stop and will be going down the order. Is this going to be an undercut move from Bago Krobler? Now, we have seen that he's able to go a little bit further in the race, and instead of double stacking, he's now getting that car sorted out and hoping to get ahead. Jason Farmer is our marker at the moment. Leading out those that have completed their first pit stop was a splash and dash. 6.3 seconds to make it work out in his favor. He's now trying to stretch open that gap to really make it work. Tennis Berta and Keegan Bowen now fighting it out with one another, and they do have one of the Stingers onto the back of him as they come on by. Keegan, trying to keep it going, but what on earth happened to Tennis Berta? He just absolutely missed the corner by light years. Started visiting the other part. Tennis Berta trying to visit away from Laguna Seca and go all the way to Sebring on that move. Unfortunately, lost out a bit of time. Anton Lummers gets on the drive, and Tennis Berta yet again snap in towards the dirt and loses yet another position, and now will be trying to fight his way through. Not ideal circumstances coming out for the driver. Benjamin Till and Sean Larrera, close battle out on circuit for the likes of 30th and 29th position. Sean Larrera trying to go around the outside late on the break. Can he make it work? Unfortunately not, as Benjamin Till closed that door. There was a little bit of a squirrely moment coming in from Sean Larrera as he got a little bit light there. Ulrich Diaga having a bit of fun with Gerard Pretorius, who landed up in the dirt, now trying to rejoin the fray. Gerard Pretorius, unfortunately, a bit down from where he wanted to be, but it looked like just lost the rear end. Let's quickly take a look at what happened. This is down the corkscrew in to the right-hander. Quick one to the left. Did the car lighten up and snap? A little bit too much curb. And that was all she wrote for the Griffin Sim Racing team. He kept it out of the wall and was able to keep going, but unfortunately went and threw him a little bit further down. Stephen Milano James having a bit of a problem. And not ideal circumstances for the 787 driver. Here's Stephen Milano James. What on earth happened to his car that he had to tow back to pits? So around and just came to a stop. Something went on with the car and unfortunately forced a retirement out of Stephen Milano James. Not ideal circumstances, and the 787 dropping down the way. As we do see the likes of Jonathan Chrislett getting into the pit lane. Tennis Buerta and Jason Farmer continue to fight it out. Jason Farmer leads out the drivers that have completed their first pit stop, and is the marker that many of the teams will be starting to look at and saying, okay, this is where he is. Start calculating your times to ensure that you can get out ahead of Jason Farmer, who lies in 20th position. Tennis Buerta going and holding up the trade will be working in the favor for Henry Mayer, Christoph Peterson, and Gerrit Bukes, who run top 3 of our pro division. Rian van der Race, along with Whitner and the likes of Conrad Martin, holds 3rd for our Pro-Am division. And whoa, where on earth is Darren Miller going? Once again, Laguna Seca to Sebring, possibly. And that is not how you want to take the drive, going a little bit too far, losing out that little bit of time. Sean Larrera and Jonathan Chrislett, 2 of our drivers having a bit of fun out there. Close racing between them. Benjamin Till also joining onto the back. So Benjamin Till now looking to try and get past Jonathan as quick as possible. Jonathan on a new... He's only did a splash and dash. Benjamin Till now trying to keep up the pace. We're getting further reports of Neil Swartz a little bit further up the hill, heading into the corkscrew. Landed into the weeds. The Stingers Racing, unfortunately, not having an easy time here. And just completely outbraked himself down the corkscrew. Just try to recover the car back. And was so close for Ulrich Diaga, who just arrived on the scene. Suddenly saw Neil Swartz coming down. And this was exciting for him. Neil Swartz just trying to get to grips with the car. The Ferrari not working out in his favor. He dives towards pit lane, try and get it sorted out. Bego Krobler all over the back of Jonathan Chrislett as it stands. Jackie Alberts will also be smiling ear to ear, but Bego allows our number 99, our leader, Henry Mayo, to get on by. And now this could be interesting because Bego Krobler can utilize Henry Mayo as that wrecking ball to try and get past the likes of Jonathan Chrislett. So up on the inside, Jonathan does move out of the way, tries to come back, and that unfortunately didn't work out in his favor. Big impact to Bagel Krobler's nose. He tried to close that door a little too late, unfortunately, and that contact to Bagel Krobler's car is shown as he loses a bit of time and will be fighting with that front end. A bit of damage to that right front. Christoph Peterson will be the next to try and get on by. Going to be a little bit of hard work here as he needs to ensure he gets a clear pass. Gerrit Bukes lies in 3rd place with Kerry Footen-Zale in 4th. Jason Amschmeyer still holds 5th place with Fleming Bauer trying to gain a little bit of time in 6th as we watch these silos of different battles round their way through. Reginald Mutilini only a second ahead of the Treehouse Works Racing Anton Lummers, who wishes to push a little bit further up the road. Now, Anton Lummers is not going to make it easy for Reginald Mutilini, and Reginald now stuck between the personality or the driver, having to figure out, well, I got to go and look away from the stream and start focusing on the race, and you got to ensure that you can't have that door too far open, otherwise Reginald's going to close it a little bit too hard. Dennis Buerta also hanging on the back of them as well, 1.8 seconds back, and the more they fight, the more this is actually going to help out the likes of Dennis Buerta. Jason Amschmeyer onto the back of Kerry Footen-Zale and aiming for that 4th place. Kerry Footen-Zale around the outside, and here comes Jason Amschmeyer. Big send, can he keep it together? Big slide from Jason Amschmeyer, but beautifully held as he exits turn 1 turn 2 as he carries on. Turn 1 is the slight left-hand kink going towards turn 2 because it's more than a 50-degree turning angle as per the FI rulebook, but everyone calls it turn 1. Jason Absmeyer getting the pass down. Harry van Zyl now in a bit of a sticky situation. Fleming Bauer now putting some pressure on him, trying to figure out how to get past. Fleming Bauer looks towards that inside line, but just not able to make it work as Harry van Zyl continues on the charge. Just quickly jump on board with Harry van Zyl up into the corkscrew. Late on the brakes for Jason Absmeyer. Now just trying to keep it all together through the right hand. A little bit unsteady for both drivers on the exit, as they try to figure out what can they do to just improve the pace. He'll a little bit ahead, try to keep it all together. Oh, Harry van Zyl very, very wide, and that has allowed Fleming Bauer to snap on by. So Fleming Bauer having an interesting way to get round. Going to be smiling ear to ear on that one, as our drivers continue on their fight up and down through the order. Anton Lummers under pressure from Jason Farmer. Looks towards the inside. Lummers late on the brakes into the corkscrew and beautifully held on the exit. Dennis Buerta also going for a little bit of a send. Couldn't quite close the gap on the exit of corkscrew. Just carried too much speed there. Lost out a bit of time. It's so easy to do. As you come over the crest, you just got to get onto the brakes and try and slow the car down. Down into second gear, flip it into the left-hander. As Anton Lummers tries to fight it out with Jason Farmer. Didn't work out. Jason Farmer now starts to open up the gap to Anton Lummers. Tiernas Buerta trying to look for the inside line and will be absolutely giving it all. And late on the brakes, however, for Buerta, nearly into the back of Lummers. He goes straight for the inside, straight for the throat. And Anton Lummers down into 20th position. Tiernas Buerta now starts to open up the gap to Anton Lummers. Great move on his part. Very, very risky. Mordred Claessen's trying to make his way up through the order, closing up on Ruim van der Walt. A little bit up the road from him. The two Pandacity machines now look to fight it out. But is Ruim van der Walt going to hold back Mordred Claessen's, or is he going to allow the pass to happen and utilize a little bit of that toe? This is where communication amongst the teams does come in handy, where you could start trying to figure out how to push that little bit more, how to work with one another, fuel save, and also where your strategies are going to be. Jason Farmer gets past Reginald Muteledi, who allows an easy-going pass, and now will continue on the drive. Mordred Claessen's gets past the likes of Ruim van der Walt, and definitely a chat between the two of them. And Ruim saying, look, I'm not too happy here. You get on ahead, I'm up-braking myself. Carry on your race as you need to. 33 cars remain in this race. 35 started. Begor Krubler keeping the pressure on Jonathan Chrysler as the Team Wolf driver now starting to pick up the pace and see if he could get by. Sean Lerera losing out a little bit of time, and he will be fighting it out against Ulrich de Jager a little bit ahead. Now, Ulrich de Jager in that BMW is extremely strong and is really starting to show it off. Benjamin Till into the pits, and it's Neil Swartz who's actually been through the pits 3 times during the course of this race. Jackie Alberts has gone through the pits twice and is now racing to the end. 53 minutes to go in this race. It's going to be a long time for the driver. It's going to be about those pit stop strategies that's going to work out. Tiernas Buerta and Reginald Muteledi continue on the fight. Begor Krubler looking towards the inside line of Jonathan Chrysler. Couldn't quite get it done. Trying to go late on the brakes into turn 2. Backed off quite a bit. Goes for the inside. Jonathan Chrysler cooked it a bit into turn 2. Lost out the drive. And now losing out the position. Begor Krubler up into 27th position. And this is going to be an interesting tell for the drivers as Sean Lerera gets past Ulrich de Jager. The two of them now trying to close up the gap to Chris Biermeister up ahead. The Griffin Sim Racing team working hard, working fast. And oh, that is a problem. Lucan Haynes, and looks like contact with Jackie Alberts. Did the teammates run into one another? The racing snails didn't go wrong. So Jackie Alberts has got Lucan Haynes on the back of him. Goes into the corkscrew. Lucan up on the inside. The two of them get out of shape. Lucan loses it coming down the corkscrew and gets knocked by the likes of Jackie Alberts into the wall and continues on. It is teammate on teammate violence for the Stingers, and definitely going to be a discussion in the pits between the two of them and the race boss. Not quite how you want to have it happen, as Begor Krubler comes off the circuit and comes across the nose of Fleming Bauer trying to chase down Absmeyer. loses out a little bit of time there. But Absmine more than happy to start opening up that gap. Bego Krubler keeping the pressure on the likes of Fleming Bauer. Even though he's a lap down, he can keep the pressure there. And that is going to allow Kerry Funsale, the Pandacity team, to start closing up the gap. So many Pandacity drivers actually coming and joining here in RaceFace.Pro for round 2 of the EG Evolved GT3 Championship. Season 23. Absolutely incredible stuff. Ruben Heineke hunting down Reginald Mutaleni as he tries to gain a bit of time. 21st position up against Reginald Mutaleni. Well, make it Ruben Heineke 20th. Reginald Mutaleni 21st. A big move up on the inside for Heineke, and caught the likes of Reginald Mutaleni going and sleeping off on the side. Ulrich Diaga fighting his way through, losing out to Gerard Pretorius, his own teammate. Is now starting to leg up and get going. The question comes in, however, are drivers that need to do the pit stop, because Jason Farmer is in 17th position, and this is where it's going to start climbing. Who's going to dive into the pits first? The tires are going to start begging for a bit of mercy at this point, as we do see that is Lucan once again going and outbraking himself into turn 2, battling to slow the car down. And makes me wonder, is there a little damage on that car that is forcing him to just really having to tap off the gas and really have to think about what he needs to do? As we do have Kerry Funsale trying to get past the likes of Bego Krubler. Fleming Bauer closes back up to Jason Abschmeyer. Now, this is where the question comes in. Blue flags. What does it mean, especially for drivers like Kerry Funsale and Bego Krubler? Blue flags mean that it is a informative flag. It lets you know that there is a faster car catching up to you. It doesn't mean you have to jump off a racing line, hit the brakes, and wait for the field to come on by. No. You are allowed to hold the racing line. You are to be predictable, and you're not allowed to fight the car into the corner. So, if the faster car is trying to get past you into a corner, you can't fight him. You just got to let that pass happen and just enjoy the ride. It doesn't mean, however, that you can go and force a car off circuit if you're the faster driver. You're just going to have to be a little patient. Jason Absmeyer and Fleming Bauer continue to fight it out between the lot of them. Henry Mayer leads out the pack with Christoph Peterson and Kurt Bukes leading out our pro. And now we take a look to our pro. Van der Race, Wepner, and Conrad Martin are still running first, second, and third as they stand. So they're trying to push that a little bit harder. They're trying to figure out what's going to work for them. Darren Miller chasing down Conrad Martin. And that's going to be a quick, easy pass for the likes of Miller, as Conrad Martin gave a little bit of a lift there, allowed him to go through. Doesn't want to worry too much. He knows they're in two different classes and trying to work his way through. It's all about understanding who you're racing with in these type of races. Who are the pros and who's the pro-ams to really help get you through the order. You don't want to go and push too hard too early and land up with a whole big problem. You want to try and figure out what is going to be the best step forward, especially in a race like this where everything is about timing. It's absolutely key to get it done. So Fleming Bauer and Kerry Funsale will be trying to keep an eye on the battle. And you got Jason Absmeyer feeling the pressure. He's been keeping it pretty consistent on his pace and wants to try and hold Fleming Bauer back as much as possible. Fleming, really aggressive dives. He's trying to just get underneath Jason Absmeyer as much as possible. And you can just take a look at the driving style. A lot more aggressive into the corners. Takes a very tight line. And early on to the power does let the rear slide out underneath him as he tries to figure out what is the game plan here. Jason Absmeyer locking down the inside line, heading into turn 1, now into turn 2. Middle of the circuit, comes back to the outside. Fleming Bauer trying to go around the outside. He had to cut back in. Jason Absmeyer once again holding that run and will be moving forward. Kerry Funsale losing out a little bit of time as we do see Bego Krubler opening up the gap for Daniel De Villiers in the Pennzoil tribute to the likes. Now the Pennzoil Tribute Nissan GTR. But we do, however, have a car parked off into the dirt. And that was Jackie Albert landing up into the wall. 32 cars remain, but Jackie having a bit of a nightmare case scenario. Let's quickly take a look and see where it all went wrong for Jackie Alberts. Coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. on the brakes, really throws the car in. Did he clip the outside? Yes, onto the dirt, spun him around, and hard hit into the wall. Does get him pointing in the right direction, but the car, unfortunately, feeling the pain as it went round. Just that little bit of a touch on the dirt, and unfortunately, is going to hurt quite a bit. So Jason Abschmeyer holds 4th place. Garrett Bukes in 3rd. Fleming Bauer in 5th. Trying to keep the pressure on. Xavier going and chasing, well, going and saying that Jason might be a Pandacity driver too. Well, it would be interesting to find out, as that there is quite a bit for likes of Jason Abschmeyer. Unfortunately, quite a bit of wall for Mordre Claessens, who lost it into the pit wall. Not ideal circumstance for him. What on earth happened to Mordre Claessens, number 10 driver? Not having an easy time there. So let's quickly take a look. Keeping it all together, getting a little bit squirrely under braking, trying to close up the gap. Immediately gets side by side with Jonathan Chrysler. And unfortunately, that little bit of contact between the two of them, and there's the impact. And there's the wall, unfortunately, costing him a bit of time. Mordre Claessens now trying to hold on to 9th position as Rian van der Race, our leader of the Pro-Ams, is in for the fight. Rian van der Race now just trying to figure out his pace here. He needs to keep an eye out for Webner, who currently holds 11th position, as a little bit behind him. Not ideal for him at the moment, because Rian van der Race is caught between the teammates, as he will have to try and figure out the big strategy here of to move forward or to allow Mordre Claessens to run a bit more ahead, get out of the way, get a little bit of clear air, and start focusing on the defense that to hold back Herman. Tennis Buerta and Keegan Bowen now trying to make their way through. The Ravenous Motorsport now battling to hold up against Tennis Buerta. He's going to go that little bit further up the road. But that being said, it is still an interesting play being had here. 45 minutes in, we're officially at the halfway mark of the race. And this is where we should see the pit stops starting to come in. Henry Mayer, Christoph Peterson, Garrett Bukes, Jason Abschmeyer, Fleming Bauer, Kerry Funzel, Daniel De Villiers, Chris Collison, Mordre Claessens, Rian van der Race. The list goes on. This is the halfway mark. Who's going to get into the box now? Or are they going to go a little bit further and do a double stack? Now, to remind you of the rules, they have to do 2 mandatory pit stops and put at least 1 liter of fuel in the car. Otherwise, they will get penalized by quite a substantial margin, 180 seconds to take them out. And that's 180 seconds per pit stop missed. So if you got 2, well, you're in for an absolute hiding of note. And we have seen that come into play for the drivers, pushing a little bit too hard and missing out their pit boxes. Fleming Bauer missing out his brake marker, gets right into the back of Jason Abschmeyer. Couldn't quite get that pass done and dusted. We'll have to wait it through. Jackie Albert's in pit lane. Long time in the box, getting major repair work done to that Mustang, and will be feeling the pain. That being said, Henry Mayer still leads out the pack, 8.3 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson, who's just been keeping it consistent at the moment. Garrett Bukes is running in 3rd place. Now, there is a driver missing from the championship, and is the teammate to Christoph Peterson out in ERA with the Fear of the Bones team, and that is Ernest Limburgs, who's not here for this evening's race, and I'm sure he will be back for round 3, going in with a bit of fun. Kerry Funzel lost out a little bit of time to Daniel De Villiers, and now trying to fight his way through. Webner into the pits, and now out of the top 3 for the Pro-Am. So it's Rian van der Race, Conrad Martin, and also down in 3rd place would be the likes of Keegan Bowen. Now, Keegan's in a bit of an awkward situation here as he tries to carry on. He's starting to see where the pit stops are coming into play, how the drivers are doing. Webner will be reducing his pit stop. Chris Biermeister is on a hiding as well, lying in 23rd position. Still yet to do any of the pit stops, and he has got nothing but everyone that has got pit stops in ahead and behind him, other than the likes of Reginald Muteleni and Anton Lummers, who continue on the charge. It's always a tough time here. Fleming Bauer into pit lane. Interesting call on his part. Chris Collison dealing with Mordrake Claessens as they come on by. They'll inherit 7th and 8th place away from Fleming Bauer. But a very, very interesting pit stop for our top 10. Now, question is Fleming Bauer going to get out ahead of Jason Farmer, who was our marker during the course of this race? Fleming Bauer down into 12th position. We'll have to figure out, is this going to be enough to go a little bit further? And still in the pits, Jason Farmer gets on by. Jason Farmer now into 14th. Fleming Bauer still in pit lane and taking a bit of a long time there. Jason Farmer's earlier pit stop has definitely worked for the undercut against Fleming Bauer, who was fighting up into the top 5. So an interesting play for the drivers. Chris Collison and Mordrake Claessens continue on the fight between the two of them. The Stingers up against Pandacity. Who is going to win this fight? Well, we've seen pandas get stung before, and it's more common in the wild than you think, as Mordrake Claessen's now trying to feel if he could get round Chris Collison. Jason Absmeyer dives into the pits. Big move there. Coming in, Daniel De Villiers, Kerry van Zyl will get on by. Mordrake Claessen's will not be going into pit lane. He goes for the inside line, gets up and around the likes of Chris Collison. He's got it done. A good show on his part. But we also do see one of the yellow lambers coming in. That is Benjamin Till, who dived into pit lane to get his pit stop out of the way. So Benjamin Till trying to go that little bit further into the race, and would be his final stop for the race. Is that going to be a new set of tyres on for him? I probably think it's going to be Jason Absmeyer. Also, long time in the box. Keegan Bowen also into the box. Pit stop starting to come in fast and frantic with 14 minutes to go. Remember, you don't want to land up doing those double stops and costing yourself time. Henry Mayer out in the top, still holds the fastest lap time of the race with a 1:22.0, keeping it consistent in 22s, same as Christoph Peterson. Gerrit Bukes dives into pit lane. This is a big move on his part. The first time he's going to drop out of that 3rd place and will be waiting for the rest of the field as Kerry van Zyl joins him in. Daniel De Villiers now inherits 3rd place and continues out his charge as well. So now we start to see John Ray DeToy, Chris Beermister, Gerald Pretorius, Jonathan Chryslet, Keegan Bowen, all into the pits to get themselves sorted out. 31 cars remain to circulate on track. Kerry van Zyl, Gerrit Bukes, Chris Collison, Ryan van der Raced also in the box. Jeffrey LaRue gets into the box. So now we start to see the drivers all getting into the box, get their stops done. The question is, are they going to be out enough ahead of this driver right here? Jason Farmer, who chases down Conrad Martin just ahead of him. And Jason Farmer, who pulled the earliest pit stop out of our top running orders, now moves himself up into 8th place. That bar is still set and is fighting it out. Conrad Martin trying to keep it all together for his time. Henry Mayer into the pits out of the lead. And Conrad Martin leading out the Pro-Am lets Jason Farmer come by. So Henry Mayer is going to have a clean, easy run as he doesn't have to worry about Jason Farmer. But Christoph Peterson continues on his charge to try and move a little bit further up in the order. Daniel De Villiers into the pits as well. Will Mordrake Claessen's follow suit as he comes out of the corkscrew, really trying to keep that 992 in check and really put it onto the power. It's amazing. We're going to have a 992.2 in the very, very near future by the end of this month, just to make things even more complicated for Porsche. As Mordrake Claessen's gets himself into 2nd place. Henry Mayer holds 3rd with Daniel De Villiers. Ruan van der Walt is going to get past both drivers to get into 3rd place. So Henry Mayer will tumble down the order as it's now Christoph Peterson, Mordrake Claessen's, and Ruan van der Walt that hold 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Henry Mayer comes out of pit lane, and so does Darren Miller, looking to move up a couple of positions. He has yet to do his pit stop, but moves himself into 5th and is on some warm tyres. Jason Farmer, however, up into 6th position. So taking a look at some of our biggest gains and biggest losses. Well, that being said, has to go to Anton Lummers, who's just gone into the box. He climbed 22 positions before he pitted, and that's going to be only rivaled by Reginald Mutileni, who climbed 13 positions at the end of, well, as he goes on. So these two drivers definitely got the most gains during the course of the race. Biggest losses, however, that are running. We're only going to talk about the cars running. We do not want to talk about the cars that have retired due to unfortunate circumstances. And that is Neil Swartz, down 9 positions from where he started. He's only rivaled in second place of it is Chris Biermeister and the likes of Fleming Bauer, both down 7 positions. Now, Bauer has completed his final stop, so he's racing straight to the end. Garrett Bukes, unfortunately, into the weeds, and now trying to get himself past, and there is the likes of Neil Swartz trying to keep them all together. This is interesting. No, it can't be. It is. It is. Unfortunately, Gerrit Bukes is out of fuel and is now limping around, and the likes of Neil Swartz is trying to get him to pit lane by giving him a bit of a push. Gerrit Bukes has run out of fuel and has cost himself 3rd place in this race. He is getting pushed along by his teammates as everyone comes on by. One up to the likes of Neil Swartz. You know, bravo to him. He's down in 31 position, and you know, Jackie Alberts is the only one that's still in pit lane to get around him, but he's out. But Gerrit Bukes now into the pits, trying to keep himself going, and that is a nightmare for the Stingers team. What on earth happened to the Mustang that went and threw him so out of the order? Was there no fuel on board? That's completely insane. I've never seen in all my years of being on air here at RaceFace.Pro, or any sim racing for that matter, that the halfway mark of the race, after you just done a pit stop, that you didn't have enough fuel. What on earth? So we're getting reports, pit registered, but fuel didn't register in car. Wow. Okay. There's bad luck, and then there's that. That's all I could say. As Tierra Puerta gets past Conrad Martin and trying to march his way up through the order. But that, man, I've seen it all. I've seen bad luck. I've been around bad luck. But by no stretch of the imagination, in 5 years of sim racing commentary, have I ever come across that. Ever. And for the Stingers Racing, wow. I mean, he did pit. He did pit, and didn't register the stop. That's what I need to know here. For him, I'm just trying to take a look. Where is Gerrit Bukes? I'm just trying to find him on my timing tower. He's down in 25th position, but he's done all his stops, so it definitely registered that he put 1 liter of fuel into the car. Wow. Okay. Maybe it was literally 1 liter that went in the car and has thrown him out of the fight. But that has opened up 3rd place to an entirely different realm. Jason Farmer into the pits for his final pit stop, room for the vault. That means Jason Abschmeyer up into 3rd place, getting chased out by Daniel De Villiers in 5th place. Darren Miller holds 3rd with Henry Mayer and Christoph Peterson 1st and 2nd. I mean, this is just interesting to see Christoph Peterson trying to get ahead of Henry Mayer. Still, both drivers have got 1 more stop to do. Darren Miller will have 2 stops to go. Fleming Bauer is the leader of those that have completed all their pit stops. Now, Bauer needs to start trying to claw his way back through the order. Apologies, I'm still lost for words of what we just witnessed. Ruan van der Walt getting overtaken by the entirety of the field as he slows it down through turn 2 and tries to get himself back onto track. Chris Collison and Fleming Bauer all get on by Herman Wepner, but we do have reports Jason Farmer as well leaving pit lane. Jason Farmer, second of everyone that's completed his pit stops. He's tried making the climb. Unfortunately, Fleming Bauer pits a little bit later. He's opened up the gap to himself and now tries to carry on the drive. Ram van der Walt and Herman are fighting it out. I mean, this is going to be a good one. If there's a driver of the day, it has to go to the likes of Neil Swartz. He's had a terrible race. He's down in 31st position. That being said, that was a good guy, Neil, who was able to push like Sakura Bukes across the line. Definitely the Chad. Oh, big mistake come in for Herman as he's in and around at the top of the corkscrew. Oh, just can't get it right. Nearly. Right, turning. Right, good. Okay, we're going. Herman Wepner down into 14th position. Jason Farmer now making up a little bit of a gap to him. Herman down, but not out. Oh, geez, as I said that, lands off into the weeds. He was second place of our Pro-Am. Is it going to be enough? Reginald Mutaleni comes on by and takes second place away from Herman. Reginald into the pits to get his pit stop done and dusted. Herman continuing to try going that little bit further. The rears must be crying in pain after that spin. Up in the corkscrew and further down. Fleming Bauer keeping the pressure on Chris Collison at the moment. Chris trying to keep it all together after a bit of a nightmare affair for the Stiggers Racing team. He's now looking to try and push himself a little bit further. Fleming Bauer in 10th place, who's completed all these pit stops, needs to clear the likes of Chris Collison because a little bit further behind, Rim for the World, Bagel Krumler, Jeffrey LaRue, and Jason Farmer starts to gain a little bit of time. Darren Miller into pit lane to do his first stop of the race. And now, as he carries on through... Oh, big mistake coming in. Where on earth did Fleming Bauer go? Wow, oh wow. What? Quickly take a look at that. Fleming Bauer completely missed. What happened? Let's go to our helmet cam. He just couldn't slow the car down. Oh, into the wall. Yep. That's a broken car. That is a very, very broken car for Fleming Bauer. And just completely outbraked himself into oblivion. Tried to slow up, but unfortunately it just didn't quite work out. Darren Miller onto the back of Chris Collison after they had the torpedo of a Pandacity driver come past. And yeah, not quite how you want to go and have your race. McLarens don't quite like the walls around them. Herman and Taylor Spuerta working together as they try and move their way through the order. But that is a nightmare scenario and it does look like it is a retirement for the likes of Fleming Bauer. So I wonder what on earth happened to him. So hopefully we can get a little bit of information from their crew chief and pit driver out there in the pits, likes of Productive Panda, also known as Xavier, to give us a little bit of an understanding of what on earth happened, because it was up into the corkscrew, down the gears, shot off into the wall, and that was all she wrote, really. Jean-Ray Dutoy getting overtaken by Anton Lummers as they come on by. Chris Biermeister having Sean Larrera on the back of him. Take a look, Sean with a little bit of a slide coming in through the right-hander, trying to get as much momentum on Chris Biermeister as possible, and once again, trying to hunt down that inside. Not enough room to make it work. It's really pushing on that rear, and it's going to turn life a little bit more difficult. It's quite aggro behind, actually. Larrera is properly hunting to try and get past Chris Biermeister, and maybe going a little bit too wild there. Now, Chris is still needing to do his final pit stop of the race, but that has gone and changed the ball game. But let's talk about the big ball game that has completely changed, as Fleming Bauer was leading out those that have completed a pit stop before he sent it to the Shadow Realm. Well, now it's Jason Farmer in 13th position, leading out those that have completed all their pit stops. And he is on the pressure on Rowan van der Walt and Jeffrey LaRue, as we do have Luca Danes into the wall trying to bring himself together. Gerard Pretorius spun out in the corkscrew. It is all madness kicking through here at Laguna Seca, and drivers starting to feel the pressure to push that little bit harder, try and figure out what they need to do. Sean Larrera getting past Chris Biermeister and now starts to open up the gap a little bit more. Lukanan's into the pit lane, trying to get himself sorted out. He drops into 30th position. And Neil Swartz, after being the Chad of moving the cars forward, his own teammate that little bit further, he's in 29th position. Slowly but surely, making up some headway. Oh, contact coming in. Run for the vault. Getting a bit unsteady. Jason Farmer having a little bit of front-end contact there. So, not quite how they wanted to go. And let's quickly take a look at it. So, under braking, out of the corkscrew. Jason Farmer trying to keep the pressure on. Run for the vault. Going into the left-hander. Oh, Jason Farmer got nice and close on that rear bumper. He tries to hunt down that inside. Door closed on him. And however, Run for the vault gets a little bit out of shape. Loses out of position. No major problem there, but definitely a loss of position that the drivers are going to be fighting their way through. It's all about calming them down now and start thinking about the race. Bego Krubler keeping the pressure on Darren Miller as they try and move their way through the order. Miller hopes to stay ahead of Krubler, who runs out a little wide, tries to put the hammer down as much as possible. Last night was out in a Mercedes-AMG GT3 in Sebring, and now into the Ferrari here for the Team Wolf in Laguna Seca for the EG Evolved GT3 Championship. Bego Krubler, Darren Miller continue on the charge as we do see the 32 of Neil Swartz trying to bring it back together. 30-second penalty happened for... Who was that? That was... Got it. Just disappeared out of nowhere. And that is not quite how you want to do things. Was that the 69 car? Possibly? And that was Ruud Heineke. I don't think he was that 30-second penalty. Stop-go that was issued for speeding in pit lane. As he got unsteady over the curbing. Still managing to hold that 15th position. So we are having quite a few drivers dropping out. We are down to 28 runners left in this race. The drivers still trying to figure out what can they do to gain a little bit of time. Run for the race leads out of our Pro-Am by a mile, with the likes of Herman Whipner sitting in 14th position. Still yet to do his pit stop. He's in second. Conrad Martin holding third, with Keegan Bowen trying to close up that gap. Christoph Peterson, Henry Mayer, and Jason Abschmeyer hold first, second, and third for our Pro Division. Bego Krubler fighting to get into that 9th position. Darren Miller doing everything he can to fight it out. Here comes Mordred Klaassen. He's going to try and get an overall track position over the current Pro-Am leader, Riem for the race, as the Kramandulas Racing not going to argue too much with the likes of Mordred Klaassen into turn 2. Holds a very tight line, gets going, but this is going to be the play of where is the drivers around you, how far are you willing to go, and where is the pit stops going to come in, because so far our top 11 still need to do their final stop of the race with 24 minutes and 18 seconds to go. Bego Krubler hunting down the inside of Darren Miller, couldn't quite get it happening, and now we'll look to try and keep on the power as much as possible. Bego Krubler not having an easy time, switches to the inside after a quick touch of the dirt. Lost a bit of traction. Miller keeping it nice and sensitive around the corners. He doesn't want to push a Lamborghini all too hard and destroy the tires. He wants to see if he can eke out a little bit more life underneath him. Henry Mayer onto the back of Christoph Peterson. This is a fight out for first place. Both drivers looking to go the extra mile here. Both are fighting for the championship, with Henry Mayer leading out the championship after round 1 and Christoph Peterson sitting in second place. Is it going to be the other way around here at Laguna Seca? And it's going to be all on that pit stop. Christoph Peterson trying to move forward. We do get reports, however. Bego Krubler twisted round at the top of the corkscrew as he tries to get himself going. Not ideal circumstances for him, and will be rejoining as we do have our leaders come flying on by. They watched for the yellow flags. They were a bit cautious. And now Christoph Peterson looks to hold the likes of Henry Mayer at bay. Christoph holds the inside line, goes to middle of circuit. Defensive lines being played here to try keep it all together. Oh, that was so close. Nearly into the door of LaRue, forcing Christoph Peterson to get on the anchors. Lost out the position, but that was an absolutely scary situation. Let's quickly go to our helmet cam off the Honda NSX to just get the view of what happened. Now, he saw the fight going ahead of him, concentrating to hold the inside line of Henry Mayer, stuck on the outside, goes around the corner, it's blind, and all of a sudden LaRue in the way and having to just really come off the gas. LaRue going and changing out the course there. Henry Mayer kept his foot flat and made sure to make it stick, and now looks to try and climb away from Christoph Peterson, who's now 1.3 seconds behind. Very, very close call there. Well done to Christoph to just come off the gas, let himself go past LaRue. However, that cost him first place, and is it going to be the race for the rest of the time? Chris Burmester, Anton Lummers, Keegan Bowen, Conrad Martin, Herman Whipner still needing to pull in the pits, along with LaRue, Van der Vault of just outside our top 10 that still need to get into that pit lane, do their final stop and carry on. But up into our top 10, Jason Farmer still holds on and now trying to break down that 5.3 second gap to Darren Miller out there for the PWSR Charlie team as he continues on the drive. Darren Miller enjoying his time out in the Lamborghini, pushing a little bit harder to try and open up the gap for the PWSR team, and looking to make it work out in his favor. Henry Mayer opening up the gap to Christoph Peterson, 1.6 seconds separating them for first place. Another close little fight starting to open up is Jeffrey LaRue and Ruben Heidecker that are dealing with Herman stuck in the middle of them. Herman getting a little bit out of shape in turn end. You can see the rear end starting to step out, and he's having to bring it all back. Ruben Heidecker trying to close up that gap, and Jeffrey LaRue after that spin and nearly having a T-bone as well, well, continues on the drive down in 12th position, but starting to drop a wheel on the dirt. The pressure starting to creep in little by little, watching that rearview mirror and see likes of Herman and Run start to close up that gap. It's always very crucial as we see a big move for Ruben Heidecker to close up the gap to Herman. It didn't quite work out on the exit, but it was most certainly a late break into the corkscrew. As our drivers keep up, contact coming in. Ruben Heidecker went for the pass and unfortunately failed, went into the side of Herman, and that has just lost out a bit of time as Conrad Martin and Keegan Bowen say thank you very much. They get the pass done. Heidecker got himself going just before Jandre DeToy would have been the next one to get on by as Ruben Van der Vault dives into pit lane to get his final stop out of the way. So the drivers now figuring out what can they do. Sean Loureiro is one of the very few drivers who's done 3 stops during the course of this race. Still going, might I add. He is still out there giving it everything he's got and is in 17th position. I mean, that is pretty well done. And he stopped in the box 3 times. No drive-throughs, no stop-goes. It's a genuine 3-stop for him. Benjamin Till trying to get himself all checked out as he moves his way up through the circuit. Still a long way to go. Unfortunately, a little bit too far down. So, question comes in towards the front. 19 minutes to go. 2.1 seconds. Henry Mayer and Christoph Peterson. Ruben Van der Vault too fast into pit lane, gets stop-go 30-second penalty. Well, not ideal circumstances coming in there, and unfortunately Van der Vault going to be paying the price for it. And it looks like Van der Vault is actually a non-finisher as well, retiring the car after that. Not ideal circumstances for Van der Vault as he retires his GT3 and will not be carrying on ahead. Christoph Peterson stuck on the outside, thrown out very, very wide as he tries to get it past Jonathan Chrysler, who's keeping it all together. Jonathan is just focusing on the charge. Neil Swartz into the pit lane. This is the 4th time he's into the pits. The Stingers Racing is having a nightmare scenario at the moment. They've got broken Mustangs. They've got multiple pit stops. They've had fuel issues. It has just been a night to forget for the Stingers Racing. And they will be going back to the textbooks here. Ruben Heidecker keeps pressure on Keegan Bowen, trying to figure out how he can get by the Team Sarko Griffin Sim Racing team as he tries to keep up the pressure. Funny Race still leads out our Pro-Am with Herman Whipner and Conrad Martin into 3rd place. Keegan Bowen holds 4th place, and he's trying to figure out how to get a little bit further up. He doesn't want to get within the clutches of Sean Loureiro, teammate to Ruud Heineke. Well, Ruud Heineke completely throws him off the circuit. Jean-Ray Toy says, thank you very much. He gets past done and dusted. Heineke going and sorting out his own problem. Dives into the dirt. Unfortunate understeer. Starting to creep in on the Ferrari 296 driver as he starts to try and figure out what is going to be the gameplay. Christoph Peterson into the pits to go and do the, pulling the trigger first. Henry Mayer now continues on the drive. This is where it's critical because Christoph's going for the undercut. Is it going to work on Henry Mayer? Henry needs to make these runs count. He put the fastest lap time of the race with a 121.7 a little bit earlier on the race. He's been running in the 122s low. So has the likes of Christoph Peterson. Question is, he needs to make this work. He needs for traffic to play in his favor to make it work out. Jason Amschmeyer holds second place. Daniel De Villiers down in third. And it is going to be Christoph Peterson leading out those that have completed his pit stop. And was a splash and dash. No new set of tires on his car. Spent 11 seconds in the box there. Crucial time coming in for the logistical nightmare and Fear the Bones driver. Likes of Christoph Peterson as he tries to make up a little bit of time. Mega Krubler just a little bit up the road is just minding out of the way for Daniel the Hitman De Villiers to get on by. Being a little bit of a gentleman, allowing Daniel to open up the run, and Christoph Peterson hoping that he gets the same courtesy from Bego Krubler. As he tries to make up a bit of time, Jason Farmer into that top 10, putting pressure on Darren Miller up the road. Jason Farmer slowly but surely trying to creep into the fight. But the question comes in for our pro. Rear for the race has got a lot of space between himself and Herman Whipner at the moment. And as they continue on the drive, it's going to be an interesting who's pulling the pit stops first between them, because Conrad Martin is in the fight along with Keegan Bowen. And this is all matters that are going to help out, as we do have a bit of a problem. Keegan Bowen came to a stop out of nowhere. Did he stall his car? What on earth happened to the 96 driver? Hammer down, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth. He hit the ignition switch. Keegan Bowen hit the ignition switch on his car and unfortunately had to stop to restart the car. Contact with Darren Miller and Jason Farmer by the looks of it as well. So we're quickly going to take a look at that as Sean Loureiro getting a bit of a yellow flags. But here it is. This is Darren Miller and Jason Farmer up towards the corkscrew. Did Farmer try to go for an aggressive overtake? Try to go for the outside. Just couldn't stop in time. There's Miller getting turned around. Gets pulled straight, but unfortunately loses out a lot of time. Jason Farmer now with damage on his nose is going to be feeling it. But also Darren Miller now needs to try and make up some headroom. Herman Whipner trying to get onto the back of Jeffrey LaRue and get past. It's going to be a hard chase, however, for the driver. He is second in the Pro-Am class. Conrad Martin lies in third, a little bit behind. 7.7 seconds behind. Audrey Claessens dives into pit lane. Keegan Bowen into pit lane. As drivers starting to get their final stops out and for the race. 28 drivers remain in this race. Benjamin Till completely off the circuit, trying to allow the drivers to come on through. But 35 cars started. Unfortunately, the attrition rate has definitely been a bit of an issue. Garrett Bukes gets past the likes of Chris Biermeister. An easy overtake. Chris still yet to do his final pit stop of the race as he carries on. Darren Miller, Jeffrey LaRue, Herman Whipner, and Conrad Martin are need to do their final pit stop, along with Chris Collison, Ryan van der Reist, Gerry van Zale, Daniel De Villiers, and Henry Mayer still charge on, trying to get that little bit further. 12 minutes and 56 seconds remain of the EG Evolved Simulator Rigs. Round 2 of the GT3 Championship for Season 23 here at RaceFace.Pro. And still so much time for drivers to make those critical moves unfortunately for others like Christoph Peterson, who rolled the dice and it has to wait until the top two decide to get into the box. He's 2.3 seconds off Daniel de Villiers. He's going to try and close up that gap at a rate of knots. He's going to be 37 seconds away from Henry Mayer as it stands. That being said, it takes 28 seconds to get in and out of the box here at Laguna Seca. So Henry Mayer is in a bit of a safe zone as it stands. It will be close, but it is possible that he can have it work out in his favor. Ruud Heineke and Jean-Ray Detroit, they chasing each other down, trying to look for an easy overtake. Ruud Heineke and Jean-Ray Detroit will be pushing a little bit harder. As you can see, Heineke, the absolute beast on the brakes to the likes of Jean-Ray Detroit. Quick dive up at the top, but just can't get on the power early enough to close up that gap. Conrad Martin sits in a bit of no man's land. He's going to be worried about Sean Loureiro down in 15th position as he dives into pit lane, trying to get himself sorted out. 50 kilometers an hour. It is a nightmare case. Sean Loureiro will be trying to close up the gap to him. Ruud Heineke all over the back of Jean-Ray Detroit and tries to look for the inside line in through turn 1. Not going to happen. Now into turn 2, the long left-hander, as it's a double apex. First apex, go wide and back in for the second apex as you floor it out of the corner. And Ruud Heineke hoping to carry a lot of momentum. Sean Loureiro now taking over second place in the running as Conrad Martin falling down the order. Chris Biermesser will hold third of the Pro-Am, but he still needs to get in and out of the box. The question comes in, Ulrich de Jager, is he going to be close enough? Unfortunately not. Conrad Martin comes out of pit lane. Ulrich de Jager only crosses the line now, and that is going to be him losing out that third place. Conrad Martin's going to be quite happy on his run as we do go back to a fight. It is Ruud Heineke and the likes of Jean Detroit. Also, they have got a fight of Keegan Bowen and Anton Lubbers fighting out a little bit further behind. Darren Miller off into the dirt, trying to bring himself back into the fray over here. One more pit stop for him. LaRue needing to do one more pit stop, as it's just madness for drivers to figure out who's going to have the pace by the end of it. And Christoph Peterson, taking a very big gamble, now needs to break down a 38.6 second gap to the likes of Henry Mayer. That is some incredibly quick lap times. He's going to have to do 122 lows to try and make it work. That's going to be lap after lap. So traffic is going to work in his favor here to try and close up the gap to Henry Mayer. Or Henry Mayer gets fouled up on the pit stop, causing him to lose out that first place. 50 laps in, 9 minutes and 43 seconds to go. Drivers trying to figure out what is the big plan here. Benjamin Till trying to get himself going yet again, as he does have the fighting duo get past him around the outside. Not an easy time for the front runners to get on by. So, Christoph Peterson, 2.1 seconds off the back of Daniel de Villiers as he fights it out. Bagel Krobler trying to get a little bit more momentum, as we do see Daniel de Villiers out there in a happy stead at the moment, who continues on the drive. But is it going to be enough, however, come the end of this race? So the driver's hoping to go that little bit more and trying to figure out what is going to be the absolute run of note. Daniel de Villiers, Henry Mayer leads out the pack, both needing to do their final pit stop. Both are continuing to carry on the drive. Christoph Peterson trying to make his way through a quick snap round, and he is, looks like he's letting Bego Krobler go. So Bego Krobler, who is in that Ferrari 296, does get past. Now this is a very interesting play. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is about track knowledge and knowing your competitors. Bego Krobler, who was lapping on that last lap. Let's quickly take a look at where he is on the list here. Bego Krobler, are you here? Yes, he is. Okay, so Bego Krobler on his last lap was a 123.2 over the likes of Christoph Peterson's 123.6. So this is a very interesting play. Christoph Peterson opening up a little bit of room, allowed Bego Krubler to go on ahead. Is he going to try and use Bego Krubler to try and put a bit of an impact into Daniel de Villiers and Henry Mayer? Use him as a bit of a, well, how can I say, a wrecking ball to try and get that pass in. It'll be very difficult, but it is possible. Jean-Andre Dutoit and Ruud Heineke are continuing to fight it out. Both have done their final pit stop. Darren Miller and Jeffrey LaRue still need to get their final stop. Rep for the race who leads out the Pro-Am with Chris Collison. Need to get their pit stop done and dusted. Sean Larrera holds second of the Pro-Am field, and Conrad Martin holds third place. Interesting fights up and down through the order. Everyone trying to dig deep now to focus on the charge as they try and bring themselves back in full contention for each of the different championships. So, Henry Mayer into the box. Is de Villiers going to be the next one to go into the box? It's going to have to. It's 6 minutes and 25 seconds left of this race. By the time he gets over, it's going to be less than just under 5 minutes. And it's going to be a tough call. Henry Mayer has opened up such a substantial lead over Christoph Peterson. I think Christoph is just focusing on the attack to Daniel de Villiers. A bit of a late run come in as we do see LaRue, but the 482.96, that's right behind the likes of Daniel de Villiers, nearly going into the back of him. So, LaRue into the pits, Daniel de Villiers into the pits, Henry Mayer out of the pits, Christoph Peterson coming past. So Christoph will get into second place. Henry Mayer will hold first as it stands for the last 5 minutes and 38 seconds. But has he got enough room to keep it going? Christoph Peterson trying to make up as much time as possible to really start getting it in. Bego Krubler is leading him through this. Bego is going to be a crucial part in Christoph Peterson's plan to catch up to Henry Mayer. Now, there is Henry Mayer. He's about going 3 corners ahead, 16 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson, but has got the problem of a bit of traffic ahead of him. He has to clear rather swiftly because Bego Krubler is applying a little bit of pressure by just being there in the slipstream for the likes of Christoph Peterson. And out in third place in a twist of events, Jason Amschmeyer holds third place and now continues on the drive. This is going to be a wild one. Jason Amschmeyer is no slouch behind the steering wheel. He knows how to really put the hammer down both in rally driving. He knows how to put the hammer down in GT racing and has gone on to show off the colors here in South Africa and really fought it out on ACC. But it's good to see him out there putting the impact. Jason Amschmeyer hoping to go that little bit further up in the road. And if I remember correctly, Jason Amschmeyer was also part of Team Ford ZA that went and actually fought out. So the South African Ford ZA team that went and had a battle between the Fords. Oh, Ruud Heineke going for a miss as Chris Collison as well as they got caught up. Jean-Ray Dutoit, Chris Collison having a little bit of contact there. And that is one of the race excels. That's Benjamin Till getting on by. But Ruud Heineke, who was planted in the wrong way, rear facing, now trying to make up some time as he lies in 11th position. Ran for the race, needing to get into the box for his final stop. Sean Larrera down in 12th, seeing his teammate just up the road from him and looks to try and make up some time. So, Henry Mayer leads out our pro and is having a difficult time. Jonathan Chrysler not making it too easy to get the pass done as our leader doesn't have an easy look on the inside. He's going to have to work his way around the outside. Jonathan eventually comes off the gas, but Henry Mayer was put offline quite a bit there, and just not enough to slow him up, however, for Christoph Peterson, who's still trying to close up that gap. But 15 seconds back from him is Jason Amschmeyer, and Bego Krubler has given the position back to Christoph Peterson, saying, listen, just get the hammer down and get going, as I can't tow you along anymore. We are running the same pace. Sean Larrera, Ruud Heineke continue the charge on with one another. Bego Krubler, Gerrit Bukes are still going on and giving it everything that they've got. as they continue on. Kerry Bukes, after a nightmare race, this is going to be a race to forget for him. Was holding third place for so long, but unfortunately, refueling rig did not work out in his favor, and that unfortunately left him with no juice left in the car and needing a bit of assistance. Run for the race now into the pits, and I think he's got enough of a gap to Sean Loureiro to hold that first place. Sean Loureiro, the Griffin Sim Racing team, going to be finishing up through the order, and it's going to be good to see Griffin Sim Racing locking in that 1-2 for the likes of the Pro-Am division. Henry Mayer has had a difficult time out there. Open up the gap early away from Christoph Peterson. Looks to be holding that first place. Christoph Peterson, Logistical Nightmare Racing and Fear the Bones driver, will be having a bit of fun. And Jason Absmeyer, the blank driver, who, well, rumor mill coming in that he is with Pandacity or going to be with Pandacity. Well, at the moment, it's blank. Could be part of Cadillac coming in. Who knows? It is a possibility. He's going out and having a bit of fun. Sean Loureiro keeping the pressure on Ruan Heineke, the two teammates. Just having a bit of fun out there as they continue on the drive to march their way through the forward front. And Ruan Heineke trying to close up to Chris Collison. He wants to get into that top 10 and wants to start trying to make a bit of an impact into that Pro Division points as they continue on the drive. Our leader, Henry Mayer, now getting a bit of traffic as he tries to slice his way through. Christoph Peterson in second place. A little too far back at the moment. 50 seconds to go. And so many cars in the way to try and battle his way through. It's not going to be an easy time. However, we are getting reports. There is a spinner, the 337 car, Benjamin Till, up towards the corkscrew. Brings out the yellow flag. And drivers having to tap off a little bit there. Ruan Heineke all over the back of Chris Collison. Now tries to make it work. Racing Sales not playing into the favor of the Stingers Racing. Leader is on the final lap as we get word from Jim, our flag marshal. It is going to be a wild, wild run as Ruan Heineke chases down Chris Collison. Sean Loureiro trying to keep on to the toe. Bego Krobler, who's also closing up at a rate of knots, utilizing Christoph Peterson as that second place driver, utilizing the toe to try bring in a little bit closer into the fight on the final lap. But Henry Mayer, smiling ear to ear on this one, has opened up 17.6 seconds over Christoph Peterson. The two drivers have really fought it out through thick and thin. Both have put on a show. Jason Amsmeyer keeping like a silent assassin. Oh, that's contact! That is contact! Chris Collison trying to close the door, and unfortunately went over the nose of Ruan Heineke. That put him into the wall. Chris Collison going down the order, and Ruan Heineke getting a clip on the nose, and nearly having Sean Loureiro climbing into the back of him as well. That was a crucial mistake. Unfortunately, the Stingers not going to be happy with that one. Henry Mayer, however, got to be smiling for round 2 of the EG Evolved GT3 Championship Season 3, Round 2 here at Laguna Seca. Henry Mayer takes the checkered flag with second place going to Christoph Peterson, Logistical Nightmare Racing and Fear the Bones driver as he makes his way around. He's going to be smiling ear to ear on that one. Jason Absmeyer on the return back to RaceFace. Good to see him back in with the fun, and will be locking down a podium. The final stop on the podium. Third place going to Jason Absmeyer on a stellar effort. Run for the race will take first place in the Pro-Am with Sean Loureiro taking second, and third place will be the likes. Possibly as we see Ulrich Diaga. Oh, that's down the hill for Ulrich Diaga. Not quite where you want to be and losing our position. But third place for the Pro-Am goes to Conrad Martin. Back on the podium. It has been far too long for Conrad Martin to be fighting out on the podium, and he's got it back. But Ulrich Diaga, oh no, a nightmare case scenario. Come on, Ulrich. Come on, buddy. You got this. Got this. Gently on the throttle. Bring it back. Nice and easy, buddy. It hasn't been your race, but you're going to have to see it through. 2 corners to go. There's the one into the second, into the left-hander. Come on, Diaga. Ulrich on the brakes, bringing it through. The 75 will be crossing the line a little bit further down than where he wanted to be, but crossing the line in 22nd position. Well done, Ulrich Diaga. It's been a wild time for round 2 of the EG Evolved Simulator Rigs as our title sponsor for round 2 here at Laguna Seca for the GT3 Championship. And man, oh man, has it been a fun time. Championships are being stretched a little bit further this time round, and quite a few drivers are scratching their heads of what do they need to do to climb up the order. Now, we're going to be waiting for just a couple of chats. Hopefully, we can get a few drivers to come and have a chat to us and give us their thoughts of the race. But while we take a look at some of the amazing highlights that we get to see of this GT3 action, it has been an absolute monster of a time. We've had some late moves being done. We've also had some very interesting approaches. But we have got our first person to come and have a chat to us, and that's going to be Christoph Peterson, who finished 2nd place and is fighting for the championship. Christoph Peterson, welcome to the commentary box. Welcome back to RaceFace.Pro in the Honda. But this time, not quite getting an advantage on an early call for your pit stop. How are you feeling?
I'm still satisfied with the result. Like I kind of knew that I didn't have the pace this week. I haven't driven the track for like 8 months, and the bob changed, so I couldn't really adapt to it, and was lacking a little bit of pace. So I tried my luck with a little bit of an unusual strategy, I guess, for my car, but it didn't work out. But I'm still happy with P2.
Now, we also did notice your teammates are not there, in likes of Sean Skitter, who usually races in Logistical Nightmare Racing, but also the Fear the Bones driver of Ernest Lindberghs that usually backs you up. Are you a little bit more comfortable in your championship, knowing that you, likes of Ernest was missing for this race and will be using as a drop round?
Oh, I mean, I would have liked to have him here, but he is on a track day in real life, which is sometimes maybe equally as fun as racing yourself. So I hope he has fun there. But yeah, I don't know. This was like the first race in a long time where I just sat alone and was just doing my laps. Different experience.
Now,
but yeah, I just hope that next round I can take the fight to Henry a little bit more.
As we're going to be heading out to a track that you know all too well, fighting out with Ben Hicks in the ERA, but we head out to Paul Ricard. Are you concerned that the Honda's top end going to be into a bit of a negative effect against the McLarens, that, as you've seen with Henry Mayer, who currently leads out the championship?
Not that much, because the McLaren doesn't have like that much of an advantage, I would say, at the end of the straight. And the Honda is pretty quick over the first 2 parts of the straight, so I'm not that concerned about that. I don't know. I'll see if I can convert all the practice I did in the 488 to the Honda, and I'm also glad that there's no Lexus on track, because that would concern me a lot more.
Fair enough. Well, it was a great race out there. Christoph, before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, enjoy the champagne here at Laguna Seca, is there anything you want to say to all the sponsors, the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, I think you agree with me on this one, the absolute petrol heads out there in the grandstands, cheering on day in, day out, and being part of this amazing season?
Yeah, thanks to everyone. Congrats, Henry and Daniel, for the podium, and special shout out to all the blue flags, because great work once again. Like last week, I'm actually very happy with the standards at the moment, at least when it comes to blue flags. Yeah, so well done to everyone.
Absolutely awesome stuff. Christoph Peterson, all the way out and from Germany, and having a bit of a chat to us. Now, before we bring in first place, we've actually got 4th place of our pros coming and having a chat to us. We don't have 3rd, surprisingly. We don't have Jason Abschmeyer, but we do have 4th. We have Daniel De Villiers coming in. Daniel, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. One, love the tribute to the Pennzoil colors that you've got on your Nissan. But 2, you had a tough time out there in pack racing every step of the way.
Thanks, Stephen. It was Alan's idea of the livery. I just mentioned it, and we were talking smack about a bunch of liveries that he's made and what he's seen and he likes and so on. And then all of a sudden, this livery came to light, and he made it, and he shared it with me. So yeah, I'm happy to run this livery. And yeah, in the race it was quite difficult following other cars. It was up and down. I'm faster, the guys are faster. I'm slower, they're slower. It's back and forth the whole time, so it's very difficult to stay consistent and focus on what the other drivers will do if they're going to crash, and you just get too excited and hope they're going to crash if they're battling. But it didn't happen. But yeah, I think it was a good race from where I started.
Well, let's talk about some of the deep breath moments that you had going through the corkscrew, trying to navigate your way through traffic, but also some of the fights. Were you at all feeling at a point of, listen, this is getting a bit wild out here, and maybe thinking of tapping off the gas, or did you just have your eyes on the ball to try and close up to Jason Abschmeyer?
No, Jason was way too quick for me. I did manage to put the 22.0 in on a race lap time, which I'm very proud of a bit. It was just way too late. I had a moment with a Ferrari of, who was it? I think it was Van Sale at the fast left-hander before the corkscrew, where he lost it and drifted just out of the corner, and I thought, okay, this is the end for us both. But he managed to save that slide, and I got past him. I think that was the only Code Brown moment for me. But there are some bit inconsistency from me and the track grip and the car by the looks of it. It might be me, but yeah, no, it was good, and yeah, I'll take this P4 any time.
Well, with P4 under the belt, you're going to be moving up into third place in the championship. Any concerns heading into Paul Ricard? We know the Nissan is quick in a straight line, but now you are fighting for that top three in the championship.
Oh no, Stephen, I'm a sitting duck in Paul Ricard. The Ferraris can do close to 300 Ks, and I'm stuck on 285 on top speed, so I'm a sitting duck.
Never say never. You will always find a way, Daniel de Villiers. But before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations out there, unfortunately not getting the champagne here tonight, but anything you want to say to all the sponsors out here, all the drivers, all the teams, and most importantly, I think you can agree with me, the absolute petrol heads that line the grandstands here tonight.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the organizers. Thank you for organizing this RaceFace event again, and to the podium folks, Christoph, Henry for winning, and Jason Absmeyer, well done, congrats, and hopefully I can share the next one with you guys. And thank you for all the races for keeping it clean as possible, and so on.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Daniel de Villiers of PWSR in the Nissan GTR getting fourth place. With that being said, there can only be one winner. Unfortunately, we don't have our Pro-Ams, but we do have our Pro. Henry Mayer, welcome to the commentary box, and congratulations on yet another first place to open up the points in your championship. How are you feeling?
Hello, Stephen. No, I'm feeling good. Just a bit tired. It's been a long week. But fun race. Tonight was fun. Like the back markers kept everyone on their feet.
Now, there was a few moments during the course of this race that you nearly landed up in accidents. Was it one of the cases of just pushing a little bit too hard? We saw the rear starting to step out once, twice, three times more, and also then hearing your own teammate just gunning it at the top of the corkscrew and landing up in the wall. Was there any concern from your side that something might go wrong, or were you quite content with your car and setup?
No, I was quite chilled at a point. It was just the sneaky no tire strat from Peterson. But otherwise than that, no complaints, no worries actually.
Well, it was still some great racing out there. Paul Ricard, round 3 for the EG Evolved GT3 Championship here at RaceFace.Pro. Any concerns, or are you looking forward to it? We do know the McLarens have got some good top end to them to be able to run ahead, but it is a circuit that is a mix between high speed and lots of aero for the big and twisties in the middle.
I'm actually looking forward to Paul Ricard because I did a race there last week for the Monza Challenge, so everything's a bit sorted already for that track.
Well, it was always a great time to see out there. But with that being said, there can only be one winner in the pro class. And we're going to give the floor over to you, Henry Mayer. Anything you want to say to all our amazing sponsors here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the admins behind the scenes, but also to the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, the absolute amazing petrol heads lining the grandstands. You even got some major support coming in from Xavier of the Pandacities, going and sitting and cheering on.
Yeah, just a massive thanks to the team. Like it's a bunch of great people we race with. Everyone's working together, helping each other get through the weeks and through the races. Massive thanks to you, Steven, and Bertus and everyone behind the scenes, the sponsors for making it possible. Yeah, and for everyone watching.
Always great stuff and well done. That being said, Henry Mayer, congratulations taking a first place here at Laguna Seca for the Pandassi team and stretching open that gap to the likes of Christoph Peterson. Well, folks, it has been a wild night. The drivers really putting a big impact here at Laguna Seca and moving their way forward. But that being said, we are going to be saying a farewell to Laguna Seca. We're going to be heading over to France to have a bit of fun around the circuit. It's been an incredible one. Once again, a massive thank you to all our sponsors. SBR, Rhino Utility, Simulator Cave, Virtual Motorheads, and our title sponsor, EG Evolved. Once again, there is that amazing deal that's being had. I've got to get my lefts and rights because it's all mirrored wrong. But in any case, keep an eye. Amazing deals being had. If you want a great race in sim, you want to move forward, especially when you start looking at all the different direct drives, whether you're in for entry level on consoles or you're into the professional stuff on PC with motion rigs, definitely take a look at the big special going in on EG Evolved and make sure you use that code SPRING10 for 10% off the purchase. And once again, it comes with all the fun extras, such as all the EGR extras, whether it's keyboard tray for your gear shifters. So much comes in for these at a great affordable price. Once again, big thank you to EG Evolved, our title sponsor. And also, if you're looking forward to seeing some more coming in, Simulator Cave is bringing in some great stuff as well. And it's great to see the two companies coming and working together here at RaceFace.Pro. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an incredible night. We have seen some great racing, but we're going to be heading over to Paul Ricard for round 3 of the EG Evolved GT3 Championship here at RaceFace.Pro. And we're looking forward to plenty more action. Coming up next week is going to be a little bit more fun as iRacing is having their own week 13 here at RaceFace, and we're going to be kicking it off with GT1s versus GT3s down Classic Le Mans. That means no chicanes down that main straight. It is foot flat to the floor and making it all work. GT1s, it's going to be braking early, trying to make it a little bit of survival rate at the end of the Mozon straight. For the GT3s, well, it's going to be fun to see how it goes, and we'll be moving on the Tuesday to our Le Mans Ultimate for round 3. Keep an eye on that. It's going to be great stuff. And last but not least is the EG Evolved GT3 Championship, where we head over to Paul Ricard on Thursday. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us. Big thank you to all our sponsors, to all behind the scenes, keeping the whole show running during the course of this year. And once again, the big thank you comes into all the drivers, the teams, and you guys out there in the virtual grandstands, giving us all the cheering on, being part of the RaceFace family, and being a part of the community. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon. If you want to join us out on SimGrid, look up RaceFace.Pro on SimGrid and join in with our races. We do have the ACC Endurance coming up very soon, so start getting your teammates ready to come and join in with that race. It's going to be exciting, and we have got plenty more to go. Racing is open to bring your friends, family, and more here at RaceFace.Pro. From myself, Stephen Koenig, and THC Productions, I'd like to thank Jim and Tim for going and helping out. Jim out there on the flag marshals, Tim handling all our cameras. Thank you, Tim. And it's always a wonderful thing. That being said, folks, like always, we'll see you next time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.